It's hot in here.
Hello and welcome to this video. I am Nathanael. I am still in dire need of a haircut. I am still in isolation and I'm still your film and TV teacher. You're probably sitting there thinking, oh, what's he going to blab on about today? Well, I'm about to tell you. For today's tutorial, I'm going to talk about using everyday lights to make videos with your smartphone. The video that you saw at the beginning of this tutorial I put together all on my smartphone. None of the footage you saw was on a DSLR or a nice big professional camera. It was just my smartphone. I didn't use any professional equipment whatsoever, just things that I found around the house. The only thing I'd say was a little bit more professional was an app which was called ProCam X Lite. Basically, this is just another way to use your camera. This app is really handy to make films with your smartphone because you get full control over your shutter speed, ISO. One of the common things I had with feedback from the last video is that some people's smartphones didn't have a pause button. Well, now you haven't got an excuse, you just download this app and it lets you pause and record again. It's very simple to use, very handy. I would definitely recommend it. And one last thing before I continue, I've been asked by some of the students, what editing software do I use? What is best for them? Well, here's your answer. I use Premiere Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro. It's not free, it's very expensive, but you can download this open source software, which means it's free, and it's very powerful, it's very good. It's called DaVinci Resolve. You can choose between the free version and there is a pro upgrade, but to be honest with you, the free version has everything that you need in it. It is more than enough to get you going and getting your editing skills together and making short films while you're in your isolation. So definitely check that out. And yes, my glasses have suddenly appeared on my face. So I'm going to shut up now and I'm going to hand it over to myself and I'm going to show you how I put together some of the shots for that film that you saw at the very beginning. And like, you can copy at home. You don't need super professional lighting. You can just use lamps that you find everywhere around your house to create something interesting, cinematic looking. So here we go. So for the first shot, I wanted to show that I was opening the hatch to the attic, but I didn't want to actually show me doing it. So I thought I'll tell the story by using the light coming through. Now, in order to do this, I got a big lamp and I put it right underneath the attic hole. Now, of course, I didn't use a tripod, and just like the other videos, I used a pile of old records. And of course, just like before, I used a bottle and I leant my phone against that. So once I had found the shot, I hit record and I turned off the rest of the lights that I didn't need on for the shot, went into position and filmed. So for this shot, the setup was a little bit more complicated, but again, I started with a pile of old records, the bottle, and placing my phone, framing it up. Now the setup for this was a little bit more complicated, and I used 2 desk lamp, a torch, and the big giant lamp underneath the attic again. The idea with the torch was to put it just hidden away, so it gave me a little bit of a blue light on my face. And I used one of the desk lamps as a backlight. So you should see like a line that goes around me. It's almost like a halo, but basically you use that backlight to pull you away from the background. Thanks, Nathaniel, that's interesting. Sometimes you just have to think outside of the box to get these shots, or I guess in this case, inside the box. So I set my scene, I used a practical light in the shot because I thought it looked good, and I used the other desk lamp to highlight the area just to give it a little bit more light. I then put some tinfoil inside of the trunk along with the torch and positioned the tinfoil so that the light reflected at the camera. So I set up the camera, this time on a stool. When I was ready, I hit record and the rest is history. Now that you've seen how I lit a lot of the shots in the film at the beginning. I'm going to move on to how you could think about maybe setting up for like a vlog, like a video diary or a tutorial or something like that. So I really wanted to make this as hard as I could on myself. So I've decided to do it in a shed. And it's starting to get dark, so this is going to be a challenge. So the very first thing you want to be looking at is your area just through the camera, finding what looks best as a background. And once you've chosen it, start tidying up. So the lights that I used for this setup was a nice big lamp that I used at the beginning. I again used the 2 desk lamps, and while I was tidying away, I managed to find a big red light that I was really happy about finding. So before I set up the red light, I made sure to tidy up my background, and I chose to make this look as if I was doing a painting tutorial, so I set it up to make it look nice. Now, I didn't have a tripod, and the stool I was using wasn't quite tall enough, but luckily I found an alternative. I used a birdhouse. The birdhouse just happened to be the right height, and I leant my phone against the post to keep it nice and still, and used the bottle to keep it in place. And this is the point where you want to go back and forth, checking your camera, having a look, tweaking the lights slightly, and going back and forth, doing this multiple times. The more creative you are and the more patient you are, the better. I decided I'm doing my video diary about my painting during isolation. So, what did I do for this setup? So, really quick, I've used this nice little red lamp. I thought it was nice, so I've used this we call this a practical, because it's something that you can see in the shot. So it's a practical light. I thought it gave it a nice look, and it highlights this area here. I've got this little desk lamp here, which is illuminating this side of my face. But as you can see, this side is a lot more shadowy. Okay, it's a lot darker. So what this is doing is creating a nice depth, so that the face isn't just flat. So if I just turn that off, as you can see, it's quite dark. It's just boring. You add that little bit of extra light, it illuminates this quite nicely, but it also adds that bit of depth here. Now, another thing I've done is I've put a light right up on top of the cabinets up there, and that is illuminating down here across my head, and it should be illuminating a little bit here as well. You can see that how it's not as light on here, on my shoulder. Cuts a bit of the light in the background off. It's quite nice there, but ultimately I was using it to put in more light here, so I stood out from the background. So that's it. Off, on, off, on, off, on. Hopefully there's a difference. But yeah, so that just goes to show, if I can make a shed look nice, granted this is quite a nice shed, but you can make a shed look good with just desk lamps, then you can make any room look good. Another thing I thought about is framing. Okay, so in this situation, what I've done is I've tried to use the thirds, which is the grid that should pop up on your screen now. If you use those thirds and you put the things that you want the person watching this video to pay attention to on those lines, it tends to look a lot nicer and a lot more professional. So that's one thing, as well as the lighting, to keep in mind when you're doing this. So well done, you have made it now to the end of the tutorial. I just want to reiterate, it takes practice and it takes patience, and you're not going to get it the first time. I'm still learning as I go along. In fact, doing these tutorials is helping me. And it just goes to show that even just using everyday household lights that you can find around the house makes for good videos. You can make something look really nice. So this is where I now challenge you. I want you to take what you've learned from this and make your own short films. Again, don't forget about the self-isolation awards. We've had a few submissions. Had one where a pen just miraculously disappears. That was pretty cool. Keep them coming in. Now you know how to light your videos. It would be great to see little storylines where suddenly someone disappears or something, and lit really nicely and cinematically. And don't forget to check out the software that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And yeah, be safe. Look after yourself out there. Stay home, for goodness sake, just stay home. And be yourself, be amazing, and don't forget to be a little bit weird. Weird's good, it adds colour to the world. So yeah, that's enough from me, your film and TV teacher, and I'm not gonna go in a puff of smoke this time. I'm gonna dissolve. I'm gonna make myself dissolve. Ah, I'm dissolving. I dissolved.